For decades, we've been told the story of human history is a simple, linear ascent, from simple hunter-gatherers to the slow, agonizing climb of evolution. We moved from tools of stone to the wheel, from scattered tribes to settled civilizations, a natural progression spanning hundreds of thousands of years. But what if that narrative is a comforting lie? What if the most crucial chapters of our past, the true origin of intelligence, the spark of civilization itself, were not achieved by us at all, but gifted or perhaps imposed by a race of beings we mistook for gods? The evidence for this forbidden history is not hidden in a forgotten vault. It is right where mainstream history began, in the scorched ancient lands of Mesopotamia, etched into the very first written words of mankind. To understand the Anunnaki, we must first understand their home. The core of this forbidden history revolves around a lost planet, a world the Sumerians called Nibiru. According to the tablets translated by scholar Zecharia Sitchin in his seminal work, The 12th Planet, Nibiru possesses a massive, elongated elliptical orbit, plunging it deep into space for thousands of years before swinging back into the inner solar system past Earth. The story goes that Nibiru, despite its size and advanced inhabitants, was facing an environmental catastrophe. Its protective atmosphere was dangerously thinning. The solution? An ambitious, high-tech plan to suspend fine gold particles high in their atmosphere to act as a reflective shield. And where was the nearest, most abundant source of gold? Earth. Approximately 445,000 years ago, the Nibiru orbit brought the planet close to Earth. The mission was launched. The Anunnaki arrived not as spiritual entities, but as technologically advanced beings desperate for a resource. Their commander was Enki, the chief scientist and engineer. Later, his half-brother, Enlil, the chief commander, arrived to take control of the mission's operations. This rivalry between the scientific creator, Enki, and the rigid disciplinarian, Enlil, would define humanity's trajectory for millennia. Their first base, Eridu, home in the faraway Built, was established in the marshlands of ancient Mesopotamia. The mission was brutal. It required relentless labor, mining, transporting, and processing the gold in unimaginably harsh conditions. The labor was carried out by the lower-ranking Anunnaki, known as the Igigi. The tablets clearly describe the rising descent. The Igigi worked for centuries, their exhaustion turning into open rebellion. They threw down their tools and surrounded Enlil's command post, refusing to work. The mission was on the verge of collapse. The gold extraction had stopped. Enlil, ever the rigid commander, demanded a military solution, the annihilation of the Igigi rebellion. But Enki, the scientist, saw another, more elegant solution: genetic engineering. The problem wasn't the work. The problem was the workforce. The Sumerian texts contain a profound scientific narrative about the creation of modern man, a story strikingly different from simple religious allegory. It reads like a scientific journal entry. Enki realized they didn't need a super-intelligent race. They needed a primitive, obedient labor force, a Lulu Emalu, or primitive worker. The goal was to modify a pre-existing Earth creature. The tablets name the subject, a hominid already roaming Africa, the Homo erectus. The Anunnaki were not merely miners and geneticists. They were warriors possessing weapons that transcended our current understanding of technology. The tablets are littered with descriptions of celestial battles and devastating displays of power. The Anunnaki established key strategic hubs, notably their primary spaceport in the Sinai Peninsula and vital command centers in Sumer, like Babylon. These were not just cities, they were technologically defined areas essential for communication and transport between Earth and Nibiru. When internal conflicts arose between the factions loyal to Enlil and those favoring Enki's lineage, the fighting was apocalyptic. The texts describe the use of brilliances and fire-spitting stones. These are not descriptions of swords and arrows. They sound like terms for advanced energy weapons or guided missiles. One of the most terrifying accounts is the destruction of the cities of the plain, often associated with the biblical Sodom and Gomorrah. The Sumerian accounts go further, describing a devastating, evil wind that swept across the land, turning life to dust. In this forbidden history, Sitchin suggests that the conflict escalated to the use of nuclear-grade weaponry. The evidence? Archaeological sites in the region often reveal areas of vitrified ruins, sand and stone turned to glass by extreme, sudden heat, a phenomenon often associated with nuclear blasts. The tablets describe the aftermath as a land that no man could walk upon. This destruction served a dual purpose. It eliminated strategic rivals, and perhaps more ominously, it was a terrifying demonstration of power to keep their rapidly evolving human workforce in line. The gods they feared were not benevolent creators. They were rival generals with weapons of mass destruction. The ultimate act of warfare, or cosmic neglect, was the Great Flood. As the human population grew uncontrollably, Enlil saw his power waning and his resources consumed. He viewed the Lulu-Amalu as a failed, noisy, and disobedient experiment. The tablets describe him calling a council of the Anunnaki and forcing a terrifying oath: "Swear to let humanity perish." The Anunnaki knew of a coming natural disaster. As Nibiru approached the inner solar system, its immense gravitational pull would inevitably destabilize the massive Antarctic ice sheet, triggering a global deluge. This was not divine magic, it was celestial mechanics. Enlil's plan was simple: let nature take its course. He swore the others to silence, ensuring humanity would have no warning. But Enki, the creator, could not bear to see his creation destroyed. He broke the sacred oath. The Atrahasis epic tells of how Enki visited a human leader named Ziusudra, the Sumerian Noah, in a dream, or, more accurately, spoke to him through the reed walls of his hut. He gave Ziusudra precise scientific instructions on how to build a massive submersible vessel, a secure fish house, to withstand the coming waters. The flood was a catastrophic reset. It wiped out nearly all of the human population and all traces of the initial hybrid Nephilim, the giant offspring of Anunnaki and human interbreeding. When the waters receded, the Anunnaki, who had retreated to their orbiting spacecraft to wait out the storm, returned to a devastated planet. Their gold mines were buried, their workforce was gone. They had no choice but to negotiate. The tablets describe a new covenant. The Anunnaki would teach the surviving humans advanced skills, agriculture, mathematics, and writing, to help them rebuild and, crucially, to help them resume the gold mining operation. This was the final compromise, a distant control system established before the Anunnaki finally began their retreat, presumably back to Nibiru, leaving their incredible, forgotten history buried in the dust.
Why is this story dismissed as pseudoscience? Because if true, it destroys the foundation of everything we believe about ourselves. The physical evidence is compelling. Look closely at the Sumerian cylinder seals. These miniature stone recordings are often only inches high, yet they clearly depict celestial systems. One seal, VA 243, shows 11 celestial bodies surrounding a large sun-like orb. If you count the sun, the moon, and all 9 known planets, there is one planet too many. Is this an artistic representation or a precise astronomical diagram of our solar system, including Nibiru? Furthermore, the seals often show the Anunnaki figures wearing what appear to be respirator masks or high-tech helmets, completely inconsistent with the simple robes of mythical gods. They look like ancient astronauts. The story is not isolated to Sumer. The concept of sky gods descending to create man and the existence of half-god giants, Nephilim, are replicated in nearly every ancient culture. The Quetzalcoatl of the Mayas, the Oannes of the Babylonians, and the Watchers of the Book of Enoch. These are not disparate myths, but fragments of a single, global event. The mainstream academic world rejects Sitchin's work vehemently, not because the translations are completely inaccurate, they are based on real cuneiform texts, but because his interpretation is unacceptable. If the Anunnaki created us, then religious texts are merely distorted historical records, and the entire theory of Darwinian evolution is flawed. It threatens the established power structure of both science and religion. The true question isn't whether the Anunnaki were gods or aliens. The question is, did they leave? If they engineered humanity to be a perpetual obedient workforce, and if they have the power to return every few thousand years with the orbit of Nibiru, then the greatest conspiracy is not that they came, but that they are still watching. The Sumerian Tablets are the oldest, most detailed, and most direct account of our own beginning. They tell a story of genetic manipulation, celestial warfare, and a fragile, deeply flawed human species born out of a gold rush. You have now read the forbidden history. The choice is yours. Believe the comfortable lie of slow evolution, or accept the terrifying, profound truth that our history was written, literally, in clay, waiting for us to find it. If this video opened your eyes to the possibility that our past is a manufactured fiction, then you belong here. This is exactly the kind of deep dive we explore on the Sky Files.
We are committed to unearthing the suppressed truths about our universe and our origins. Make sure you don't miss our next investigation. Hit the like button if you dare to question the narrative. And more importantly, subscribe to the Sky Files and ring that notification bell. Join the community that looks up and asks, what if we've been lied to? Thank you for seeking the truth with the Sky Files.